Hear that sound? That's the future knocking on your door. Gear up for an unprecedented experience with HomeBrew AI. An electrifying community of brainiacs, AI enthusiasts, digital alchemists, and knowledge seekers. This is where fellowship intermingles with creativity. Build bridges with fellow trailblazers, plunge into intellectual odysseys, and let your synapses jive to the cadence of progress. We're embarking on an ambitious endeavor to chronicle the singularity. So head over to HomeBrew AI, where the news is hot, the ideas are brewing in the singularity. Well, that's for you to find out.
Yeah, he is. So I'm pretty sure that, just like to have this at the front, next week we're going to start doing these in front of on Twitter Spaces. We're not going to have any video, but we'll just simulcast the audio. I'm going to figure out how to do that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're pretty much in a spot where we're gonna have to just keep trying things to expand, but it's gonna be difficult. With everything like this, you're always gonna have like difficulties. But
yeah,
so the main things to talk about are obviously the longevity stuff, where it's more just confirmation that the reset your life, reset your age pill is going to be in literal pill form. It's a cocktail.
Yeah, I saw that posted in the Science and Technology. That's cool.
They're putting up giant factories in Ohio for the biotech. What? Yeah, and
I didn't know that. Dang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the companies that David Sinclair is partnered with is doing that. So that's how they'll be able to eventually mass produce it once they figure it out. Obviously, it's not perfect yet. It'll only be able to do stuff like eyes first, which is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine just being handed a pill and being able to see again.
Mm-hmm. Curing blindness. Mm-hmm. And I think Twitter Spaces, like you were saying before, there's a lot of people interested in AI and Twitter, so I think that'd be a good place to grow.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to be more receptive to a video format, but we're just going to have to do audio.
Oh, right. Yeah. Just try different avenues.
How exactly, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but with your vision, right? Oh. Like, what is your, why do you wear glasses exactly? Is it just like some, what are the issues with it?
I can't even drive without glasses.
But is it something you were born with, or just something that developed over time?
Yeah. Basically, like when I was like 12 or 13. I think it's genetic. I don't know what's... I feel stupid. I don't know what it's called.
Well, this is one of the scenarios that, like, I think eventually, like, with the cocktail type thing, your vision might go more normal. You know, like the scene in Spider-Man, where he's putting the glasses on. He's like, what the hell? I think there's going to be a lot of weird stuff like that with longevity technology. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that, like... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Like with the Air Force, you need to have 20... Oh, there's Lex. Oh, he's raising his hand.
I already invited him. I think he's on the go. He might be in his car, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, okay, cool.
But
like with the Air Force, you need 20/20 vision. So a lot of people need to get LASIK, to be like a fighter pilot, for example. So, if you can use a pill, that'd be a lot less intrusive.
Yeah, that's the first one. Is like mainly like it'll be like, I don't know enough about it to say with like complete authority, but if you can cure blindness, you can probably cure novel vision issues with normal people. Like there's all sorts of weird things like this where like now you put the spectacle community or like the spectacle like companies out of business to some degree, right? Like you can no longer need these lenses in this capacity, so they're going to have to switch up what they do. Or
I think some people will still wear them just to look smart,
like the anime characters. So every time like you say something intelligent, you just adjust them real quick. Yeah, that works. A little glint in the eye. But I think I think that's like a strange thing. There's all sorts of industry that is surrounding illnesses. So if you get the regeneration pills, you're kind of creating one of the last drugs you can create. That isn't outright enhancement.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But yeah, so we did get the news on that. Go ahead.
The medical industry is so inflated. I think we were talking about it in the chat before. It's just the healthcare costs are so high, and this is actually really needed. Other solutions, but I think it's going to threaten some industries, like you're saying.
I was listening to a talk with Martin Shkreli.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, he's the guy who bought this HIV medication, and he raised it to like $14,000 per. It might have been per like prescription, I believe, but effectively people. I debugger. Mm-hmm. But yeah, effectively, when he raised it, he got a ton of like flack from it because they were like, "Oh yeah, this is evil" and all that, right? Because like you're charging these people for HIV medication. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the HIV medication was extremely, on the insurance side is where most of the money goes. So
right.
He's kind of pointing out that, Jesus, he's kind of pointing out that these people, they're not footing the bill. And then he was doing some other stuff with it I'm not quite sure of. But his point was, this is a medication that's only going to be like sold to X amount of people. So I need to like make my return on it. I paid $2 million for this company, whatever.
Right? They're trying to make money back.
So a lot of the drug industry, part of the reason other than insurance stuff for why things are so expensive is that you're creating a drug that only works for like 1,000 people in the world sometimes. So
right.
It's a novel disease that you give me 20 grand and it's gone. Right. Otherwise you'd have to get a surgery that costs 70 grand. There's stuff like that goes on.
Yeah. Where's the incentive? To do this if you're not going to make money off of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like the medical industry is large amounts of issues with insurance stuff. Insurance companies in general is why these drugs cost so much, at least here in America. I think 20% of our GDP is drugs, for the record. Something crazy like that.
Really? 20%? Well, I believe it. Right.
We're the drug capital of the world, and like prescription and illicit ones. But basically what you're dealing with there is eventually you don't need to charge as much at some point, because the drug technology just keeps getting better. And the more time goes on, we're going to deal with a lot less issues with drugs in general. I think there's going to be like anabolic stuff where there's novel drugs that make you ripped or stuff like that, or enhance cognitive abilities. That's where you'll see, that's where you're going to see the innovations past that point. So past the point of just straight up rejuvenation, you'll see major advances in all of that. Like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. But we know it's a cocktail. So the
cocktail,
which means it's very cheap. He said that in theory there'll be someone in there. He said a high school student in theory could create the reverse aging thing in their kitchen if they just knew the right ingredients.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that. So it's going to be very cheap. So we got to solve housing. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know people are scared of people aren't reproducing as much, that there's going to be a population decline, but I think this would actually solve that if people started living longer, don't you think?
Well, I mean, there's theories that like the Earth can support like north of 20 billion. Some say up to 100 billion, because you can build up and you can build down, right? You can
that's
live in the
right.
ground. And then there's plenty of land to grow food. And then there's also current reasons that we have issues, at least with vegetables and stuff, is energy constraints, right? We can grow tons of various like leafy greens in like vertical situations within a closed environment, and that is very energy intensive because you need these very powerful light bulbs that like simulate the sunlight.
Oh, right.
So these things are growing year round. So you could potentially do this at mass scale for like grass for cows and stuff, but basically you can't do indoor farming yet without better resources to generate more energy. It costs too much.
Expensive.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like little things like that will solve along the way, but you're going to be able to feed tons of people on Earth. There's going to be maybe 100 billion people at some point. Which
food shortages.
I don't think we'll have food shortages. We'll have them like temporarily, of course. Like that's always going to be.
With the Ukraine, Russia was bombing Odessa, one of the port cities for the Ukraine, and they were saying that just that made wheat prices skyrocket, and there's still shortages of food in certain parts of the world because of that.
Yeah.
This is for us to worry. Yeah, right. Elon's reproducing plenty for us.
I don't need to see this one. Delete message. Get out of here. I don't need to see him gulping the food. Message. Yeah. But
debugger.
So how do you think we solve for? So other than getting off the planet, how do you think we solve for the? Dude, I don't like debugger, dude. We give him too much power here. But
give him too much power.
What do you think we do beyond like getting off of the planet to solve a lot of the population crises? If we reach, so say we get the magic pill in 5 years, right? Everyone could just keep resetting. You then have an escape velocity of longevity where not enough people die every year, right? And then enough people are produced every year that the population gets growing.
Keeps adding up. I guess we'll have to live in pods and eat bugs.
I don't think we're going to have to eat bugs. I don't want to eat the bugs.
Eat bugs.
Stop staring at me. Bugs. Don't stare at me while you say that. I don't need that. You don't have a solution? You're just going to eat the bugs?
Well, like you said, yeah, of course, Elon wants to go to Mars because he said that we need a backup, right? That's how he put it. But you said besides going off planet, yeah, I mean, going underground, but I know we need sunlight, but we can use vitamin D3 supplements to.
well, we'd probably be able to create some sort of, like humans are kind of simple, right? You can create some sort of lighting that would perfectly supplement our needs for that as well. There's more water underground. It's kind of trapped in rocks, right? I think it's closer to the Earth's core, but there's technically more water underneath the Earth's surface than there is on the surface. Like deep,
right, because there's plenty of water then. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's deep beneath the core. Like it's trapped inside of rocks. Like you would have to go like 20 miles deep or something like that.
Ooh.
Oh God.
Eat
the bugs. Oh my God. Yeah. We're just like Timon and Pumbaa, just eating bugs for the rest of our lives. I can't wait.
Juicy.
Yeah. So I think I think we're going to be able to avoid the eating the bug situation. At least
hopefully.
in theory. They seem to want to push it
Very,
though, don't they? Like the one of the things they're doing is
yeah.
like
Well,
trying to make like bug burgers.
yeah. I heard it. Yeah, bug burgers and supplementing it in food stuff we already have. I think there's an article about it I posted in the past. It's like slowly moving us towards that.
You know they have
With the-
the FDA, like there can be a certain amount of like rat droppings and cockroach
Oh,
carcasses and stuff in
oh
coffee,
no!
in ground coffee.
Really?
It
Oh
grows a lot of
man!
mold. It grows a lot of mold on the coffee too.
Really?
Yes. So
Oh man!
yeah. So most
Please,
I'd rather be a cannibal.
be a cannibal.
Well, if you eat or if you actually get pre-ground coffee, there's a lot. There's like 10% of it has mold in it, just from pretty
Really?
much every brand. Yeah,
Oh
it's because
man!
there's like cockroaches and shit, like
I had
little bits
no
of their body
idea,
in there
man.
ground up. They get into the hopper.
Oh dang!
I mean,
We've been eating bugs this whole time.
how many times do you pull up like your little like K cup or your whatever you get
Oh yeah.
coffee with, and it says Colombian
Mm,
coffee? Do you
yeah.
really think that?
Most of it is.
Do you really think that they have the best practices there? I mean, they don't really have to deal with it as much. They don't.
Yeah. You think they got good oversight? I didn't think about that.
Well, it's part of. You're an American company, right? You want to take advantage of paying workers significantly less. You put it in Colombia. You lower your standards as much as possible to up the price. You
Hmm.
know, yeah,
Funny.
the money, right? And what do
Hmm.
you care? The FDA approves what you're bringing in because it's only 5% non-edible manner or
Yeah.
non-edible stuff, and then I mean, hell, there's a lot of food that they're easily put sawdust in it because you can eat a
Oh,
certain amount of sawdust, no problem.
oh man.
Yeah, they've done like double-blind studies where they put like a
Make me
certain
get
amount of
paranoid.
sawdust in your cereal, right? And when you're eating it, you have no idea, but there's just enough in there that you don't taste the sawdust.
Oh no. As long as it isn't killing people, like, who knows?
It isn't it? It's a
Man.
quandary. Like, who knows?
Yeah. We don't even know the sources to everything.
Yep. Most like greeneries you can't eat as like a human. I think we can only eat like 10% of greens on Earth, something like that. Like
Oh
most
yeah?
stuff that grows on a
Huh.
farm. That's why cows are so
Yeah.
useful, is because they eat things that we can't eat and digest. Like you can't even get
Ah.
all the vitamins out of a vegetable unless you cook it. So you
Oh
lose a certain
really?
amount of vitamins, but your body
Yeah,
can
yeah.
only digest these vitamins if it's cooked.
Uh-huh.
So eating like raw
Man.
greens and stuff, that's not even the end all be all like people think it is.
Yeah, some people are like you have to eat everything raw. What the heck is that? You fucker. I don't know what that movie is that from.
I don't know, dude. We need to remove his
You
gift
don't know what that
privileges.
is? No. Oh no, I'm gonna be banned. Bye, Joey. It
Yeah, it
was
was
nice
nice knowing
knowing
you.
you.
we're we're
Seriously.
not that old, debugger. We don't know what movie that is, but but yeah, the point is that you actually need animals that can digest the food that we can't digest because they have more stomachs than us, so they can
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. They have
yeah they can digest all the greens, all the
right,
grass.
right.
They
Mm,
turn what protein there is in the vegetable that is their grass, right, or grain, and they turn it into proteins that you can digest, which is in the meat.
hmm.
So that's what that all is about. It's a
Oh,
strange environment. So like the anti cow culture that like is like climate change at this
oh yeah.
point is like antithetical to anything that we as humans like can digest even. Like
I
you
mean, we
just
were
get
evolved to eat meat. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It's like trying to make a cat vegan.
Yeah, if you look at like, yeah, there. Have you seen those articles where like vegans make their cat eat vegan, and they have to take
Yep,
it
I
to the
saw that.
vet?
Oh no, I even saw an article of a couple doing that to their baby, and it got malnutrition. I think they had to call CPS on them. That's just
Yeah, that's like
abuse.
that's where it's like a religion because you need to take a ton of vitamins if you're doing an all vegan diet.
Yeah, that's true. Because there's a lot that you need in meat, not just soy.
Yeah, there's like the theory that you have everything you need on a ribeye to live.
Oh yeah, ribeye.
It's got all the
I mean,
vitamins in just that one piece of meat.
a cheeseburger. I mean, all the calories in it. It's one of the most calorie dense foods there are in modern times, despite the healthy aspects to it.
Yeah, I've seen things where they're saying like there's a calorie index where humans have never had this much access to calories, and the cheeseburger
That
is
too.
like the greatest invention ever. So it's like a funny like
Yep.
Americans will make
Hmm.
any excuse to eat a cheeseburger. See, this is
Ultimate food, especially if you the veggies on it. You get the protein, the carbs, the veggies. You got everything.
yeah. You just need the soda on the side. You know, you can't be healthy. You know.
Oh yeah, gotta have our soda pop, our pop.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Gary Taubes?
No, what's that?
Gary Taubes wrote a book called "Good Calories, Bad Calories," and the entire premise of the story, Jesus Christ, uh, the entire premise of this of his book is he did a long form medical research and did this over such a long period of time that he's come to the conclusion personally that he thinks that most obesity is due to a insulin resistance response. So
Oh,
it's more of a hormonal reason that you store fat.
really
Uh, yeah, he's
interesting.
like on his Twitter, he's like the man against sugar or something like that. I forget what it says exactly, but basically,
Uh,
sugar is like a poisonous thing to us. It creates inflammation in us and makes us
oh,
store more fat.
inflammation. Hmm.
Yeah.
Inflammation is a big thing.
Well,
Hmm.
humanity never had access to this much sugar,
That too.
so
Yeah, I think
that's
evolutionarily, the sugar was rare, and that's why our taste buds love it. Because usually, if we found it, it was like, wow, this is really good reward because it's just very rare to find. Now it's plentiful. I think
well,
that's why.
that's the same thing with salt. Like they put a ton of salt into
Oh, mhm.
McDonald's burgers because it tastes more satiating to have all that salt.
Ah,
Because
okay.
there's salt in beef, right? So the more
You're right.
beef you eat, the more salt you're going to ingest. But if you just put more salt on the beef, it's more satiating because your body doesn't necessarily know the difference that there isn't as much beef.
Mm.
Jesus,
Big or go home, right? God,
I don't like him anymore.
Jesus.
I'm ready to give him.
You don't like it. That's what she said.
We give both these guys the
Go
boot
big or go.
with their gifts. This is awful. But yeah, but basically, there's theories that like most of it. He says that obesity isn't a math problem, right? A calories in, calories out thing. Now, granted, there is
Oh,
some
right.
truth to it, of course, but the
Mhm.
correlation is in spiking of the blood sugar. That's why intermittent fasting works.
Oh,
That's
oh yeah, intermittent fasting. Yeah, I've heard about that fasting.
yeah. Do you know
Like a pretty good idea.
David Sinclair and Brian Johnson both do that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they only eat about an hour
That's
or two a
turned out.
day, I think. I think Brian
Oh
Johnson
wow.
only eats a meal a day and then 100 supplements.
100 supplements. Jesus. It's a lot of supplements. Supplements.
Yeah, intermittent fasting is it's hard at first, but once you get used to it, it just
Yeah.
becomes the way you eat. You don't really care.
Yeah. Make it a habit. Get used to it. Condition yourself to it. Because your body is not used to it at first. You want those little snacks,
Yeah,
snacking.
yeah. You'll eventually get to the point where you're not hungry until your eating window, and then you're not hungry after your eating
Condition,
window.
condition yourself to hunger.
I don't like him.
Oh no.
But to move on from that subject, by the way, the other news that we got is I posted on my Twitter the Reagan clip. Have you ever seen it? Where he says the
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
you're cutting out on me. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, say again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Let me see if I could prioritize my Wi-Fi and see if that helps a little bit. But you were saying a Reagan clip?
Yeah, there's a Reagan clip where he says the most the worst sentence in the English language is "We're from the government and we're here to help."
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what just came out with all the regulation that.
Oh, yeah, I posted a link to that.
So Meta, Anthropic, OpenAI, and a few other AI companies have agreed that they will never publicly release something as powerful as GPT-4.
Stupid. Yes.
Number one, it's not going to work because you're just going to be able to train things. You're going to be able to get the data in Japan, all the data you want, because there's theories that GPT-4, the reason it's so good at MIT stuff and coding stuff is that it's got tons of comp science and biology books, you name it, right? Straight out of the universities. They have all that trained on it, and they did it without copyright law on it. They just did it.
Oh, the copyright. That's one of the problems. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how much you know about college with the book racket, but they create a new one every year and charge the students, hundreds of dollars per book, sometimes more. I don't know how much it goes up to. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So basically that cuts into their grift because now you just have a model that knows all of this. And
right.
Yeah. So basically OpenAI doesn't have any leg to stand on here with that. They're going to be superseded by another company. And it might be XAI because
Elon.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this earlier, right? Where the idea that he's going to make his AI significantly less censored is this is the same guy who sold 20,000 flamethrowers. Just out of nowhere, he just decided to, right? Because of a joke in a movie. And they're real flamethrowers that work. I haven't heard about anyone being burned alive with one, but he sold them. I can't remember how much each they were, but so now that would scare the hell out of a lot of people. But the point is that the guy's bold. He's going to do whatever makes the AI good, in my opinion. Like he's just going to do it. If it comes down to buying that stuff, then it will. There's another thing where basically we're kind of. They didn't even invite XAI into the meeting for
really?
This. Yeah, and he said, "I'm the one who's."
We've mentioned it.
Yeah, he's not mentioned. XAI is not mentioned as a company in the White House meeting.
Well, I guess it could actually be sort of a good thing.
Well, yeah, it might mean that he didn't sign any agreement that he wouldn't release.
He didn't promise anything. Exactly.
Something more powerful than GPT-4. And then, there's other things to consider, right? Where Tesla is going to spend another $1 billion on compute.
Yep.
So
need a lot of computing power.
Obviously, some of that is going to be rented over to XAI at arm's length, but most of it will be all the NVIDIA GPUs that they have. So
yeah, GPUs. Elon was talking about how hard it is to get the GPUs in one of his tweets I saw. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know what's strange about that is I didn't expect him to say it, but NVIDIA is actually prioritizing some of their orders for GPUs over other companies.
I'm not surprised though.
It kind of surprises me because of how much more they probably stand to gain from selling to Microsoft.
Oh, right.
But I think NVIDIA is kind of a player where they have to like please everybody because they're just making so much money. So
yeah, they are in a sweet spot right now with, at first crypto, which was unintentional, but with AI now, they're just on a roll, making money with the GPUs.
you're the CEO of AMD's like a cousin of the CEO of NVIDIA. I had no idea.
Are you serious?
I'm pretty sure they're both. Yeah, I think they're cousins.
Kind of scares me about a monopoly. Or
yeah, do you think they're just
interests?
Join up?
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, because I wonder to what degree like you can even like stay like you pretty much can't talk to your cousin if that's your scenario. I think to like because you'll just leak shit to each other.
Exactly. Yeah, it's big conflict of interests and corporate secrets, all sorts of things like that. That is actually a real concern. So I'm surprised about that. Ooh.
Yeah, it's rough to think about because you have all these big companies, but eventually it does just lead into like monopolistic stuff where I think it's the same thing with like OpenAI has been the front runner for however long, but it's probably the last places we're going to see like real competition in a big tech sense. But I've been worried lately that like Google might be the one because they have DeepMind backing them.
Oh yeah, they have so much resources and all the data. It's hard to monopolize me, Elon. Yes, Elon, we'll be your servants. I need to go to the restroom real quick. I'll be back.
Okay. But yeah, so to go on a little bit of a rant while he's gone, I think that the regulation is pretty much just subpar with what they're doing. It's the promise to never release an open source model that has higher than GPT-4 capabilities, which basically means it basically means nothing because they were already like people being concerned about GPT-4, which was a billion parameter model, right? Prior to ever seeing GPT-3, and now we have release models that are like 70 billion that are just completely released. And nobody's concerned, but they were concerned like, oh, GPT-2, this 1 billion parameter model is going to be absolutely havoc if it's ever leaked. Like we would be in hell. And now you have 100 times that nearly models that are just out there, and then there's even bigger ones beyond that are out there. Basically, you kind of just have like this strange panic selling market about AI in order to get it regulated because it's a bunch of people who don't understand anything about AI as far as how it currently works. In its current state, this is how AI works, and they're selling the panic so that they can basically gatekeep. At this point, I think the entire... Now, maybe there's a world where Sam Altman really is the great actor in this, but there's also another thing where he could be being pressured. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But I think that he's kind of the villain here as far as he moves into this space, says, oh, we need to We miss your hats. Oh,
Yeah,
Lex.
we
Yeah.
miss.
No,
Yeah,
Lex is
hats.
busy right now. I don't think he can join directly yet, but he might be able to
He's
a
a
little
busy
later.
man.
Yeah, I think so. It's 2023. Nobody's busy anymore. But he said he'll be here at some point, maybe. But basically,
we're lucky.
What I was talking about was like just the general regulation, where it's mostly just like they call it wagging the dog, right? Like
lines.
High lines. But the point I'm making is that they're panicking about the regulation, or they're panicking about like wanting to regulate this stuff because these models are so dangerous. Don't release anything that's higher level than GPT-4, right? And they were previously panicking about the 1 billion models. So it's like it's a flaccid comment because you already were acting like that was the possibility with a significantly less powerful model. So the general point that I'm making is that it is clearly more than likely Sam Altman with whoever he's working with doing some degree of like gatekeeping, and maybe his motivation is based on like, I think I'm the greatest actor in this case, some sort of like, you know, tech giant delusion where he thinks that he can make the best moral arguments to the how we roll out these AIs, and I'm going to keep everybody safe. Maybe he has that degree of like delusion, but it's also entirely possible there's things behind the scenes where he's much more greedy than everyone would ever expect. And I don't really know.
No way for us to know.
Basically, him pushing for this AI stuff, as far as regulation goes, is at best preemptive and premature, or at worst, it is in order to gatekeep, holistically gatekeep.
Gatekeeping. That's what we're afraid of. But thankfully, Elon will keep it open. He mutters, elongate.
Oh my god. I don't like him.
I am Elon. You guys are crazy.
Okay. So going forward with the regulations, that to finish off the point, they are basically doing this for power moves, and that's where we're at with all this regulation stuff. And I don't think that it's going to work long term, because there's already tons of people that are talking about how they think GPT-4 doesn't code as well, doesn't write as well.
It's already being limited too much. You're right.
I think there's like degrees of like censorship where like people that are doing weird stuff with it are seeing it more than someone who's using it in a utility sense of like helping it as a writing assistant or a coding assistant, right? But the study that I think it was Stanford, I'm pretty sure, they did a study between two different models that you can call on the API. So it's kind of like they did a bad update between one and the other, and that was their measurement thing. So it's not necessarily that they were using ChatGPT itself.
Right.
So there's no way to know exactly how much the quality of it is deteriorated.
It's hard to tell, right? It's just what.
How often do you use ChatGPT in like your day-to-day out of curiosity?
I just use it a few times a week. I need to use it a lot more for my work. Even though my work, they send out an email because of my type of work that we shouldn't be using it or putting any kind of details into it. But I think a lot of it.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of it I should start to use and just try to just put information that, no kind of detailed information. You know what I mean? Keep vague. That makes sense.
Well, the main thing that people do with those is they obfuscate the shit out of it. They put fake names. They do whatever. Right? You can, depending on what you're doing, you can make things that'll automate that. but
That's a good idea.
be careful. You can just use the API calls, which could rack up a debt over time, but depends on what you're doing. You could find a place where it saves you time, but they're not allowed to use any of the API stuff for training. So if you take them at their word, which their word isn't very good right now, you have degrees of possibly avoiding anything with that. But what you should do, generally speaking, is use it to create things that help you stay on task, which is like, here's my problem, help me with a to-do list or a checklist, and then it helps you troubleshoot things. So there's stuff like that that's super helpful for.
Right. I know, like with Adobe, I deal with Adobe a lot. People always have Adobe issues, and that's something that it actually helps. I put in common problem with Adobe, and it finds solutions. Kind of like Googling it, but it's a little better, actually. Yeah, it's like we've said before. It's basically the new Googling. If you're not using AI, it's like you don't know how to Google something.
You should try using Claude 2. It's up to 2023 training data, so it might be better.
Oh, really?
It might be better for asking Claude, things.
Is it free to a certain extent?
It's like you get a certain amount of free messages per day. I actually hit the cap on it recently. I'm writing a white paper, so I ran straight into the shit.
White paper. Oh, dang.
Yeah, it's super secret. No, I'm writing a white paper for my small project, which is going to be a big project.
Crypto?
No. Left that game a long time ago.
You love crypto, Jeffy.
I don't want to talk about fucking crypto. Shut the fuck up. I'll fight you over crypto. I don't want to talk about
it. I just had to tease you about that.
Yes, I know. But I actually am just writing a explainer of how to make like GPT-4 automated with like building tool sets and stuff like that. Obviously, there are a ton of people. There are a ton of people already doing this, but the point I was making is Claude is very good at knowing the most up to date things. So
because 2023 data.
It's like still 6 months back, so it might have been only trained at like the start of this year, but I don't know. But
still,
it will help you more with like things like Adobe because the patches aren't that far from.
Exactly.
So that's a good little work hack for you.
Constantly updating. That's a really good idea. And this is another question. I know this is probably a common common questions. When's OpenAI's ChatGPT-4 going to be updated to a more current date? Have they said anything about that?
See, this is like, it's strange, right? You think you just got a $10 billion investment. You'd think you'd have the GPUs to train an updated model.
Yeah.
At the very least. So you train like 4.1 or something, right? 4.2. But it costs $65 million to train GPT-4. They did it across 120 layers and a whole bunch of other data. Like, it's a ton of data. It's like 10 times the amount that, or it might be like 20 times. I don't remember the amount that GPT-3 was trained on, right? So it then takes around 55 days total for it to run the training process. That's how long it takes for all those computers to create the model. And then the model, like sometimes GPUs, I know John Carmack has like tweeted about this, so I assume he's dealing with it. But because you're running these GPUs at the edge where very slight like solar flares from the sun can actually cause errors within the GPU while it's doing calculations, right? Like that's
crazy.
That's how detailed the processes that we're using are now. Where they're probably gonna have to look into shielding. Yes, they're gonna have to look into shielding for the radiation that we just get from the sun, so that we don't deal with very novel compute errors that are caused. But
Very
the point is,
small things. Yeah.
the point is,
Wow.
John Carmack talked about there is a GPU, like something that happens with like models is that a GPU will just burn, it just catches fire or whatever, right? And then now you have to like start the training over.
No way.
Depending on how it's set up, there could be scenarios where there aren't enough GPUs to take over the load of the training because one died. So you have to start it over.
One failure. Dang.
Yeah. Now I don't know how many labs have these issues. There's probably more redundancies that they can make use of these days because it's all stuff they're learning now. You know, like, oh crap.
It's still pretty new. Yeah.
So
take the load.
That's probably what you're also dealing with them creating an updated model. And then it's also getting their hands on the data is another problem. They're a company that is being looked into more, so they're much more vulnerable to litigation for scraping techniques that are what everyone does now.
The Twitter and Reddit limiting their information, causing an uproar.
So you're seeing all the issues, and then you can't even just buy the data from Twitter because Elon's like, go fuck yourself. Right?
Yeah, that's his data for his AI.
Yeah, so that's what you're dealing with. Is it's very hard to actually update the entire stack there, or well, the data stack is what I'm trying to refer to, because they've pretty much said that they have the ability to kind of train these models to do what they want, but it's a matter of like getting it done. That's another case. So it's very hard to train these giant stacks. We have about 10 supercomputers with these big GPU things.
Supercomputers.
I think we have about 10 so far that can train a GPT-4 level model. But you're locking up all your compute for 2 months.
Yeah.
So basically, this is like a supply and demand thing, where you can only do so much with what compute you have. Like in history, right? Like spies that would go over in various like European kingdoms, they would follow around the salt merchants, and if they were selling like tons of salt, you now know, based on making the salt merchant turn over, who's going to war against you. Why is salt important, right? Is because you need a ton of salt to store all the meat for your soldiers.
Yep. Preservation of the meat.
So we're just in a non-abundant era of like compute when it comes to this, because so many different companies are buying as many GPUs as they can, that they can't really expand operations as fast as we might think to train the model then run their service that they're running right now. So they've essentially cut so much of their compute out of the equation that they can't really train another model. And then they also they're committing 20% of their total compute is to super alignment, right?
Yeah. Whatever that means.
Well, it's super censorship is what it is. They're going to train it to be the most politically incorrect bot they can, and then figure out how to shoot it every time it turns into that. That's what they're doing.
Really? That's dumb. Do-gooder AI. Oh, God.
Yeah, the do-gooder AI is what they're doing, basically.
Oh, God.
But overall...
Mr. B. For about 2 weeks now. No.
Hey, stop paying attention to chat. Just leave him be. He's autistic. He needs to get it out somehow, and it's okay. We're equal opportunity here when it comes to debugger. We allow him to be everybody. Him. Okay, so
okay, sorry about that.
No, you're good. But beyond the point that I'm making is that the basically we're just in a position where like compute is just hard to get, and
They're hoarding it. Yeah, all the companies.
If you're running a service, you're limiting the amount that you can do. So eventually they're going to definitely fall behind because 2024 is going to roll around and there's a whole another year of data that they're missing. And what they're kind of trying to do is with things like code interpreter and plugins, they can add other functionality to these models, right? And supplement what it doesn't know, which is smart. That's something you can do, but it's like it's a Band-Aid. Just training a bigger and better model is probably better, in my opinion, in my novice opinion when it comes to fine-tuning or training models.
Yeah, pre-AI internet data,
Yeah, that's a good point, is that GPT-4 is pretty much all the pre-AI internet data. However, there's probably a lot of GPT-2 stuff and GPT-3 that was out there. Because they had the APIs out there and the playground out there for years. And people use them for like novel things, but it's not it wasn't as capable. So, but yeah, that's interesting. They kind of have to keep that as like a separate model.
Yeah.
Emod saying that it's extremely likely. He's saying it's extremely likely that somebody has the weights to GPT-4 on their own USB stick. Like, basically, the bad guys probably already have it. So it's like,
really,
yeah, more than likely. There's probably someone in the, because they had to expose their weights to Europe, right? European Union.
Oh yeah, European, because their regulations and laws are more strict than the United States. That's right.
Yeah, so you have to give them all your weights, and I don't know how you examine that for whatever, right? And now somebody probably out there has the chip, some government agent who's just waiting for the right buyer. Who knows what's going on? Trust me, bro. We got to examine your weights.
Yeah, right. Just trust me, bro. Yeah, keep a copy just in case. It won't ever leak.
Yeah, I would also say that one of the most level-headed people I've seen is Mark Andreessen, I believe. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Mark Anderson.
Oh yeah, I saw. Somebody post that. Yeah,
he was talking about there are people in the government right now who are attempting to make it so that there's no ability to do open source models. So he's basically, he's a tech guy. He understands how all this works. And he's like,
right,
if you're going to make it so there can be no open source models legally, you have to put a back end on every single computer to check and make sure you're not using software we don't want you to use. And that is like the ultimate, like if they got that passed, your like freedoms are dead. That's a full virtual revolt moment.
1984. So make sure nobody makes their own software or anything like that is here, right? 1984 is here to a certain extent. Make it fiction again. Yeah.
I think this is like the ultimate out, though, of the 1984 situation is AI in general, because everyone's going to be able to update massive amounts of code base, and we might get to the point where every piece of software can be generated by your computer, right? So that's closed loop system. And then it can examine any software that comes in and check it, is what I eventually see as a possibility. So this is all an automated process. All software on your computer or your device is self-made to interact with the rest of the web, right? So nobody's sneaking anything past your AI.
Yeah.
So,
like you're saying, like a home defender AI.
Well, just even your virtual defender, where there's all sorts of like, if you'd buy like certain Chinese, even like vacuums, there's a cybersecurity guy who was pointing this out. He has a vacuum. He says, great, it's amazing little mop vacuum that he has that does his floors, and it'll pick up liquid and all that stuff. But the app that it connects to, it'll connect into his Wi-Fi or whatever for whatever reason, right? He says it connects to a Chinese server. It says that's a vulnerability in my system where they could potentially take over my system, my Wi-Fi.
That's true. That's why I don't install apps for all the gadgets there are nowadays.
Yeah, I got a
Have
smart
air
oven.
filter. Yeah, like I don't want to install an app for every single application, and that's another tech vulnerability for each app you.
I have a smart oven in my house that you can hook up to the app, but I guess preheat it while you're coming home. I don't know. Like, what the fuck is the point, right? You're there at the oven anyways. Like, there's a lot of cybersecurity experts. Like, they get to the point where they have no electronic locks. They only have mechanical locks. Everything's mechanical.
Yeah.
Because there's vulnerabilities. But the thing that sucks about that, right, is that if you didn't have vulnerabilities with an electronic lock system as well as mechanical vulnerabilities, right, points of failure, that's a safer system because someone has to break your door down to get your door open.
Oh, yeah.
So if you could virtually make that safer, your door just deadbolts itself. It just knows to deadbolt itself when you're out of the house. No one gets in unless they beat the door down. So it's like there's promise in electronics eventually where you won't need a key to get into your house. It'll be on your thumb or something. People do that, but
I mean, that's eventually what.
So once you reach a point of like almost no issues with cybersecurity, which AI potentially could bring us, it could also bring us the opposite, right? So
make everything open.
But if you get to the point where cybersecurity is so on lock because you have an AI defending every bit of you as a person, right? You're in a position where things are safer. There's even now high-end robot vacuums are doing away with cameras. They're removing the cameras in their designs. It's only LiDAR technology.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
So a hacker could get
concerns.
A hacker could get the layout of your house, but there's no cameras on anything. But if the hacker gets like my robot vacuum, just if anyone wants to hack into it, there is a camera. You can come sneak and look under my door and, I don't know, to see me sleeping, I guess. But the point is, yeah, but that's a real vulnerability that I have to think about. I keep it in an area of the house where if it's going around, it's because I hear it, but there's plenty of warning, I guess, but it's a vulnerability because it can go around your house and film you while you're doing whatever.
Right. And I know, like Alexas, they have the cameras built in. I mean, they have a little, I guess, based on
Alexas have cameras built in. Did I sleep too long? Are you serious? They've added that?
Yes, there is. Yeah, we actually have one in our kitchen, and there's a flip to cover the camera. Actually,
me too. Here, look, here's mine.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm away. I'm gone.
I think because people do care about their privacy to a certain extent, especially with video. But I know audio, they're always listening. That's the problem.
Why does an Alexa need video? What does it do for you?
I don't know. I guess you can video chat with people on it. It's like,
does it have a screen that pops up? What do you mean? Why does your Alexa have a video on it?
It has a little screen. So yeah, I guess I don't think we've tried it, but I think you can video chat with people.
Was it suspiciously like $5, so you bought it anyways? Is that what happened here? They're like, wow, this is really cheap. I wonder why it's so cheap.
The Alexa products are cheap. A lot of them are.
Yes, that's because they're paying to put it in your house.
Could you please stop? Mine is going, oh, sorry, debugger. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think anybody else here had one.
Hey, that's your fault for having an Alexa.
No, it's my wife. Okay. I don't. Use it.
Alexa, order gray Earl tea. Debugger needs it to calm down.
He needs it to calm down. Yeah.
But okay, so you literally bought one of these with a camera, and you haven't destroyed the camera yet.
My wife likes to use it, so it's not.
Did she talk to her robot friend when you were away? You should be careful. That's not good. Oh God, you walk in on your wife with the Alexa, everything's over. You lose the house, the kids, you know. Yeah, so I don't know why you actually allowed that to be purchased and put in your home, but you know, good for you, I guess. But
sounds hot. Debugger. Oh my God.
were you supposed to fix me? Oh, great. Man, Ryan Gosling is going to be around forever in the future. There's never going to be a moment where that dude's not on some meme.
Mm-hmm.
He's just the eternal meme forever.
Use his virtual image. He's just going to be with us forever.
You know, Neuralink is one of the things they're working on curing is aphasia, which is like you can't really speak anymore.
Really?
It's very hard to speak from what I hear. Like you can't remember a lot. And there's basically your who has this? This is what's his name? Die Hard.
Oh yeah.
He has that, so that's why you don't see him in movies anymore.
Oh yeah, he does. That's sad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard for him to remember all his lines or whatever and speak as much. Oh God, it's Biden. He's got aphasia. But basically, the Neuralink in theory could help with help with things like that. So that's kind of excited. You're gonna have all these weird novel things like solved for, I guess.
Biden. So when do you think XAI is going to have a something to show?
Well, they said that they would have something to show within like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, really? Okay, awesome.
I don't think they're going to have something that you can use. Maybe they'll surprise me. They've been around for a bit, but they'll have effectively, what's the word for this? They're going to have like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're collecting data. Here's our training methods. Here's what we experimented with so far, right? Because even Stability AI, when they made their own text AI, they said they were using like novel methods that didn't work very well, and that's why their AI kind of sucks. There's no perfect like alchemy yet for this. We just know,
right?
We know certain things that we know already.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that sucks. I was hoping
anything like Sword Art Online being relevant in tech in the next 2 decades. Most definitely. The AR is definitely going to help with our general advancement of this technology. But the theory the theory that I've always had, for the record, is that your eyes, we have retinal scanners, so we can tell exactly, over time, machine learning will be able to tell exactly what you feel when you're looking at something with your eyes. So you put the goggles on, it looks into your eyes, and then possibly other things like blood pressure, and effectively you're going to be able to do what's called like half dive. So it's not full dive, you're not fully there, but it's presenting stuff directly to your eyes, and there's even technology now where it will only go high resolution exactly where your eyes are looking, right? But effectively, based on brain scanning technology as well, it's going to tell when you want to move in the virtual environment. So you can just lay still on a bed or sit in a chair, I guess, and your brain is so good at adapting to a new situation like that, that once it's effectively perfect, right, or near perfect, you won't necessarily need to be in like a full dive scenario until we obviously will want that for other novel experiences, but your body moving around in it is going to be so seamless that your eyes just believe it, and your brain and everything believes you're literally walking through this place. If you've ever been like hypnotized before, it's not everyone can be hypnotized, but basically you'll start like there's all sorts of sensations and stuff that they can make you feel like they can make you feel like you're falling, right? They can make you feel like you're flying. There's all kinds of things like that. They can make you feel powerful, whatever. Wow. Hypnotoad. But oh God, that's blinding me.
Blinding you.
But the lens AI adjusts. Yeah, but in the immediate sense, that's what you're going to see. But where you will be in the future, which is Neuralink, is the main bit. Yeah. Neuralink can eventually go and send signals directly to the visual cortex. So you send a video file direct to the cortex. You close your eyes and see stuff, which is
mind-blowing.
At first, it'll only be like 200 by 200 pixels, something like that.
Oh, right.
And then over time, they'll optimize that, and then it'll be full fidelity. But I've explained this before. Their example with their last presentation with Neuralink was that they took a picture of Abraham Lincoln and they flattened it, warped that flattened, spread it out into like a kind of wing type thing, and then flipped it upside down. You can't really tell what it is, but if you know that it's Abraham Lincoln, you can tell just based on what they showed you. This is how your eyes see things. Your visual cortex is sent that signal. Yeah. Go ahead.
Your mind's eye.
Yes. That's a good way to describe it. Your mind's eye receives this signal from your eyeballs, and then that is turned into a 3D texture effectively with anything that you're looking at. So that's the method. So eventually with Neuralink, you will be able to send higher and higher fidelity imagery to people. And eventually you get to the point where you don't need the goggles. You could just go into a world if you feel like you're in a boring meeting, but you're not there. I could see that.
Not really there. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, the thing that I'm most curious about with like the reason you would want full dive, right, is that we talk about longevity, right? But time dilation is a whole other time dilation in a we experience time slower sense. So, or at the same speed from your perception, but your 8-hour night of sleep in like a full dive scenario, you spent like months being somewhere.
Crazy.
So you could picture that every time you wake up, you're just significantly smarter. You've lived longer.
That just exponentially changes everything. Just learning, just if that's literally could happen, if that could literally happen, that could change everything.
Well, the theory is that you figure out time dilation, and depending on how extreme we could get with it, you would need to constantly be draining the brain of fluid, right? Because the brain like collects garbage fluid over time, and it needs to be cleaned and put new fluid in. It's like literally like a transmission change. Like it's kind of strange how our brain works as far as that goes, but that's why you need to sleep. But it actually drains into your spinal cord. It's weird. Some people say it's better to sleep on your side because it drains into your spinal cord and down, so the liquid goes away faster, so you're more well rested. I'm not sure. It could be entire bullshit, but the point is your brain needs to drain. So we would need some sort of method where your brain is able to automatically drain through some sort of method that we have, or gene therapy that we create. Who knows? Like, we don't know exactly, but your brain would need to drain constantly to put new fluid in, because at least according to a friend of mine who, neurology is like his major,
Oh, really?
yeah, he claims that if you could do time dilation with like full dive, it would kill you because your brain would be racking up so much debt that it's not paying, that you just die at some point.
Oh, okay. So
it's just a garbage generator at that point, because you're constantly like having experiences every day in this dream environment, right? And
brain overload.
Yeah. But if you do get that, right? If we get that technology, depending on how extreme we can extend our virtual sleep life, right? There was an old anime that I watched when I was like 18 or something. I don't remember how old I was, but it was like Excel World. Really strange anime, but there's a part in it, and obviously this comes from like Dragon Ball Z like training, but you're in the
Dragon Ball Z.
You're in the torture chamber for however long, right? But yeah, you basically, there's one part where they leave for like over a weekend, like 300 days to train in the anime.
Yeah.
Right? So if you get to the point where you can turn a weekend into years, right? Every weekend into years. Eventually, over probably like a 3-month period, humans can, in the virtual environments together, in whatever way that they exist, they effectively can solve most things that we think of. We wake up and we solve faster than light within 6 months, right?
Right. Yeah, that would. Oh my God. I can't even comprehend that right now.
Well, think if you could do that in some way where you don't get time dilation, right? We know that time dilation is possible because of adrenaline.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because when we're in a really stressful
time goes by longer to you, so you're reacting to things faster, right? But in reality, like the same amount of time went by, but you experienced it like it was minutes, what could be seconds. Sometimes it can go in reverse, who knows, right? But the point is, we know it's possible, so eventually you might get that where we have time dilation. But if we don't have it, think about this. You just go to sleep and then go into your virtual world for like 8 hours. That adds so much. That adds so much to your life on like a daily basis. Because most people talk about your. Oh Jesus, that's a lot of reading.
Shutterstock signed 6-year training data agreement with OpenAI. Wow. Simmons was quality. Obtain license to access additional training data, including its image, video, and music libraries. Wow.
Okay. Ready for the plankton parodies to get even better?
Yeah, the plankton.
Yeah, dude, Plankton's going to be the greatest cover artist of the millennium. I'm swearing, dude.
Yeah, I like those videos.
Dude,
awesome.
Those are amazing. Like, his voice comes out so great whenever there's a yell part in the song. I love it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've watched those.
Yeah, it makes me like super happy whenever I see those. They're funny. But that's a weird thing to think about, is that like we might hit the point where like entertainers are kind of bespoke, right? You only want to watch a real human because you're a hipster. Right. I like him because he's less entertaining than the super intelligence.
Like old school.
Yeah. There's an entire like. I mean, think of how many people like going to like there's like little jazz places and different
Oh,
part,
right.
and that's like,
Mhm.
it's not the big. Well, granted, it never was like a gigantic music base that like rock and roll enjoyed, but
Right,
the
right.
audience for it is less, right? But the people that
Yeah.
go are very like, you know, I'm doing this because I'm I really know, man. I know where good music is, and they go to these little dive bars. Actually, Austin, Texas is super into that type of stuff.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
very
Austin, Texas is a big scene hipster place now, especially over the years. That is true.
yeah. Now Austin's becoming like a comedy place, but I haven't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a jaded person, but it's been very hard for me to watch like
Mm.
most comedy these days. Like I used to watch stand up all
Oh,
the time,
really?
loved it,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
stand up.
yes, now like the last 5-10 years of stand up has been severely like lacking to me. I don't know why. It just doesn't make me laugh.
Oh, you don't know why?
I don't know why. I definitely don't know why. But the point is now you have my friends shares with me like in the style of George Carlin all the time, and they make me like
Oh, yeah.
bellyache laugh, like having George Carlin
Oh, yeah.
explain literally anything. He'll have it
Yeah,
remix like an entire news post where it's just George Carlin making quips throughout the whole thing,
that's
and
awesome.
GPT-4 can do it. So you're probably going to have a decent amount of time here where stand-up comedy is going to improve because all these stand-ups are, if they're not using it, they're stupid to help you
Uh-huh.
iterate on jokes and find a premise, because that's the main thing
Yeah.
you're doing when you're doing stand-up.
Mm. Oh, shoot. Yeah, because I mean, AI is kind of better at stand up than humans already, right?
uh it's very good at mimicking a style of stand-up
Oh, a
where
style.
if you get it to mimic a certain comedian, it can do stuff that's kind of in their light, but it's
Mhm.
not it's not necessarily, you know how there's like a GPT-4 accent. When it writes things, you can tell that it's
Oh,
doing it.
yeah, it kind of has an accent. You could tell. Yeah, understand. I mean, equals bullying. Yeah, to a certain extent, it is bullying sometimes. So,
Okay, he's got the take on stand-up that it's bullying. Oh, okay. Thank you, debugger, for yeah. I'm gonna rape fuck stand-up comedians. That's my contribution to the fucking conversation. I appreciate. Oh
oh my
Jesus, get this the
god,
fuck out of here.
what is this?
We're not doing that. We don't need to see Barbie hiking her skirt up in the chat there, debugger. We know what movie he
Oh
went to see
man.
yesterday.
Oh right, Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Is it true that Oppenheimer is like a polyglot? Is that bullshit?
I
You
don't know.
know,
I haven't seen them yet.
you know what a polyglot is, right?
Mm-mm. What's that?
Polyglot means many tongues. They speak multiple languages. But I saw some like
Oh,
TikTok stuff that I'm like, is this shit propaganda? Right? It's telling me that he learned Dutch in like 4 weeks to do a physics speech.
oh,
I was just like, okay, maybe he did, but I don't know. That sounds kind of fantastical, I guess. But
it'd have to be literal genius. Even a literal genius, I think that'd be pretty.
okay, then contact
That's it.
Caitlin for the ripped movies because her Middle Eastern hookup.
Movie.
Thanks for letting us know.
Right.
I'm not like a big like movie watcher anymore. I watch like few and far between. The last movie I
Yeah.
actually watched was that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie, which is kind of
Oh yeah.
poetic.
I. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. I haven't been watching movies that much myself either. Just haven't.
Well, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like the Manson murders, but they did it in
Oh yeah.
reverse, where the people who
Hmm.
went to go murder the woman and her friends. Like Quentin Tarantino makes it so they get massacred instead.
Oh
It's like
yeah,
it's a
I do
revenge
like
fantasy.
I do like Quentin Tarantino though. Yeah, I have seen a lot of his films. The Mission Impossible.
Is he still
So
doing
what
all his own
else?
stunts in Mission Impossible?
Oh yeah, he's getting a little old, isn't he, Tom Cruise? I mean, he still looks young considering, but he is getting up there now. Let me see.
There's a story of his where he basically wanted to do the scene where he's running around the giant building, right?
Oh yeah.
Where he wants to run around the giant building on, I forget which Mission Impossible it is, but he
Mhm.
had his like stunt safety guy, right? Told him his idea. The guy disapproved it, so he fired him. I don't know if that's just a Just So
Oh,
story, but that's a funny thing, a
oh
funny
wow.
concept where it's like, oh, you can't do it. I'm going to find someone who's going to make it so I can.
Yeah, yeah.
The dude's like a thrill seeker. Like he can play guitar. He can skydive. Is like a he's like a fully like approved like skydiver. All that like
It's
he
a
could
real life
instruct people.
superhero.
He can fly helicopters and planes. Like he's just like a
What?
he could do all kinds of stuff.
Oh, he's
He's
61 years old. So he's not too old.
well, I guess he's had enough time, eh?
Yeah. He's not Biden or Trump. That's old. BlackBerry. What?
It's BlackBerry.
Oh, is that a movie?
Yeah, I think so. It's under the titles
Oh, so
movie
it's like
Ramsey.
the
Yeah.
I am not the smart one here.
All right, tell us what
Yes.
BlackBerry's about. Sell it to us.
Let's
It's not
think
about
about the
phones.
BlackBerry.
It's like Tetris. What do you mean it's like Tetris?
What? BlackBerry movie. Let me look. Oh, it is a movie. Let's see.
Oh shit, it's a movie.
I don't even know how to describe this. That's weird. Huh. Yeah, you'd have to look it up yourself. Oh, the charted the course of the spectacular rise and catastrophic demise of the world's first smartphone. Yeah, I guess the BlackBerry is the first
Oh,
smartphone, right?
it's literally about Blackberries, like the
Uh,
company.
I think so. Yeah, from what I just read. Let's see. Yeah,
80s econ hype.
Econ Hype. I guess that's a thing. But yeah, they were pretty much the first smartphones, I guess. Blackberries. I remember when they were the rage when I was like a teenager.
I wouldn't call that a smartphone, to be honest. Like
It has a keyboard.
that's smart. Good point. Never mind. It's the first smartphone.
Oh yeah, the Nokia. Oh yeah, the old school Nokias. So cool.
Yeah, I've
Get
seen
ahead with
like
it.
videos of people running them over with big rigs. The Nokias. They just take it.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh, I remember having a Razor phone. Yeah, when I was a teenager, the Razors.
Oh yeah, I actually bought one of those with my own money when I was a kid. I
Oh really?
remember it could play some music, and then it had like
Some
GPS
music.
on it. And the GPS didn't
Yeah,
work very
yeah.
well. It was all fucking garbage compared to what we have now. The,
Right,
but I
right.
will say that that is still the coolest looking phone that has ever existed is the Razer phone. There's never been a phone
Yeah,
that looks as cool.
that
Yeah,
is true. It's,
I think they're
and
like
again, nostalgia.
I think they're gonna bring that phone out again for the record, but
Oh
with
yeah, I
like
think I heard about that. They're trying to bring it back. Yeah,
yeah,
in a modern way
I guess you'd have to
with
make it
Android.
wider because it wouldn't. Everyone's phone needs to be wider these days. Have you ever seen the there's the graph of like the phone like screen. Basically, the phone screens got bigger as like online porn got bigger at the same exact rate. Like on a line graph, they correlate directly with the resolutions we got. So there's all this, like, the theory is that the bigger screen is literally just for porn. Like that is the driving factor. Obviously, if you probably put YouTube next to it, but that one's fun. It's funny.
Wow. That's something to think about. It's a conspiracy.
It's just,
oh my god,
it's all a conspiracy.
I never even thought
Dude,
about that. That's ridiculous.
I still think that like we're in trouble with AI because of all the people that are using it for, like, there are people every day. Like, did we talk about this before? With the guy who talked about becoming like a really good prompt engineer because he wanted to sext with OpenAI like constantly.
Yeah.
There's people that like role play with it all day, and you have to.
That reminds me of.
You have to trick it.
They baked his ass. No, if you go on to what do you call it? A Gentoo board on a 4channel.
If you guys Gentoo board on what?
Gentoo, it's the Linux distribution G on 4chan. They have threads, AI threads, just on role playing, like constantly having threads on AI role playing.
So the AI role play.
Yeah, they're constantly talking about. Yeah, I heard you.
He's going apeshit right now. There's someone at the door. I'm millennial, so we don't answer the door here. That's it's not what we do. We just wait for them to politely go away. Right.
No solicitation. But yeah, no, they're really into that stuff, man. Like,
what type of role playing are we talking? Like, is it all like sex shit, or is it all sex shit, or are they role playing as a private spy? Like, what's the role playing?
No, it's mostly erotic. Yeah, but I mean, they are really smart, and they get really like talking to each other how to do prompts. Yeah, I'm serious.
So are you reading this, or is this some like screenshots you've seen? Which one is it?
I explore sometimes to see what they're talking about. It's research. I'm not interested in at all.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
Sure? Where are you going over here, Rams? Are you looking at these things?
He who smelt it dealt it, right? This is what I feel like right now. He's doing research. There was a musician who had like tons of child pornography on his laptop. They caught him with it at the airport, right? Someone looked at it, they reported it, and he I think he might have got away with it, or at least like lesser charges, but he tried to claim he was doing like a documentary on like child pornography traffickers.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
What I'm saying is, we caught you. If we look at your thing, you've got a lot of screenshots, don't you? Right in the folder that says "Don't touch" or it just says cooking recipes. So no one will click on it. I know all the tricks. I see you.
Okay, I could start posting the screenshots in the Discord. Is that
no? Don't. I don't want to see the screenshots. You have screenshots, so it's a problem. What are you doing with your time? Don't you do things?
I should be studying.
And you're on the Gentoo boards. Just why there though? Why the fuck is it on a Linux distro subforum? Right? Is that what it is? Am I wrong?
They're very autistic.
But why are there threads about this there, of all places? I'm sorry. I've kind of lost like my. I just realized that that's the place that it's happening. Why is it happening there?
Yeah, they do ironically. because Gentoo is supposed to be really hard to install. So I don't know why I'm explaining this, but yeah, it's like a test to see if you're uh, good with tech. If you're good enough to install Gentoo, which is supposedly really hard to install, you're good
This sounds
with
like the fucking
computers.
biggest line of horse shit I've ever been sold, for the record. Now maybe I'm just a stupid, naive fucker, but like, I highly doubt that like a Linux distro is that hard to install. What, you gotta like,
With
you gotta go to the
memes.
local library to get a key for it? Like, does you have to leave your house
I
for it?
think
Is that
it's
why it's so
better.
hard?
I think it's better now. I think it's a little easier now, but yeah, that's the gist of it. But no, man, I think there used to be like a role playing based on GPT-3, like a role playing uh, for like doing like fantasy quests with the AI. I forgot what it was called. I think you guys
Oh
probably
yes,
heard about it.
it was one of the earlier ones with like GPT-2. I think it might have been GPT-4 or 3 at some point, but it was dungeon dungeon something.
Yeah, that's it. Dungeon something. Yeah. So
Lines would
yeah,
know it.
they used.
He was using it when I first like saw that
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
but
eventually shut that down, censored it, like to the extent they couldn't use it anymore because
it
they were
might have just
using
been
it
AI
mainly for,
dungeon.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So now they've been trying to make their own open source versions of it, and they've made a lot of progress doing stuff. I mean, I know it's unintentional progress towards AI, but they are contributing, I think, to open source, even though
Hmm.
their intentions is erotic role play.
Yeah, when I first tried that AI out, by the way, it was probably my first time I ever dealt with anything that was AI related. It was like
Mm.
I made it like I'm some soldier, right? And like
Oh
I
yeah,
I didn't know anything about context windows. Like, it's probably only 2K context window, and then it's got only the
yeah.
context per prompt, which is you're in this scenario, right? And it's
Mhm.
going based off of the previous conversation. But
Yeah.
it was like, it was interesting, right? Because like, I'm like, okay, I'm this like soldier in the apocalypse, and I'm taking stuff over.
Pretty
I'm
cool.
telling it to do stuff
Uh-huh.
like that, right? And then
Yeah.
it would always have some bug where, oh, your character died, or your character got knocked out and woke up 1,000 years later because of some thing that it made up, and it would just ruin your like your amusement with
Oh,
that. So it was
yeah.
like the technology was too premature, but it was interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I remember seeing this on. Yeah, they're really into. Let me actually check that out right now. But yeah, they have some threads on it right now. Actually, let's see.
Don't post any.
I haven't been to the. Oh, I won't post, but I've been on here for a while. Yeah, AI chatbot general, over 600 replies. Yeah. Oh, it's the two of the top threads.
Of course it
AI
is. Everyone's
chatbot
into
general.
AI.
Yeah, they are really into it. So yeah, AI bot. Oh yeah, they have Claude at the very top. Claude 2.
I bet you role playing with Claude is really good because it's got 100K context. So
Yeah, they said
that's a
Claude. mm, Claude
got.
is doing the best. Claude filtered and scarce. Turbo exists. GPT-4 nearly dead. I guess because of the censoring.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah,
This is
that
interesting.
yeah, there's a problem with like, I don't know what Anthropic is doing, right? Because
Oh yeah.
each time you send a prompt and get a prompt back, right? The
Mm,
model has to be re-queried with the first message, the second message, the third message, right? Up until its context limit. It has to
mm,
be every time sent that message back and forth, right?
yeah.
And it's more text every time. So that
Oh
makes the API call for it more expensive.
yeah.
So so
Expensive. Hmm.
Anthropic is either absolutely hemorrhaging money, or because I've sent, oh my God, I've sent entire like podcast transcripts to it. I send fucking
really?
all kinds of texts like here's an entire massive conversation that I had. Help me add more detail to this section, right?
Wow.
Stuff I'm writing.
Yeah.
And you know, we're talking like I hand it like 50,000 words, right? And it's this strange thing where I don't know how they're doing that without hemorrhaging tons of money, because it's a pretty good model, which means that it's probably pretty large and it probably has a great deal of expense to run.
Yeah, yeah.
So the theory with them is that they're truncating down each chunk of text and having some sort of trick that they're doing where it gets the context of the full thing by like delving into it. So it might be like a multi situation like that. So basically like now they're limiting the amount of text you can do to it. I don't know how many you can do right now.
They just post they're saying Anthropic is starting to hard filter API keys. They're like, bros, I'm scared.
What do you mean hard filter API keys? Are they just saying
I don't know.
for
They
like
just
their sex shit that they're doing?
Yeah, I think so. They just posted that.
I'm trying to develop applications for like real world like things that, and I can't get an API key. And these guys they're fucking the robot, right? So I just need to try to fuck the robot. I've already figured it out.
Competing with.
Jesus Christ! Some guy sexting with the damn thing right now has the key and I don't. Imagine how pissed I am right now.
This is who you're competing with. That's hilarious.
Dude, that's frustrating. That's really frustrating.
Oh, man. Well, I guess we do need some gatekeeping, Joby. Or you get this.
I don't like you right now. Why'd you have to bring that to my attention? What else do those type of people say in that like thread? Like, scroll past the fucking weird shit, but like, what are they like? I guess like, are they basically doing Dan? Like, is it just all like the same style of prompt stuff?
Yeah, I remember Dan. Yeah, probably. Oh, yeah, I mean, let's see. Yeah. I just got Claude 3. Bullshit.
Oh, God.
They're crazy. Oh, man.
All right, so are we just reading for pleasure? Do you have anything to share? What are you doing? Talk to me. What are you seeing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't repeat some of it, so never mind.
Jesus Christ. Okay, maybe you should get off of that and just.
Okay, I am.
We'll just ponder it from a distance.
I thought that was.
You're clearly not
interesting,
useful in getting. No. You're not extracting any data that could be useful to us. Jesus, man. Disappointing me.
I thought it would be fun to look at.
Yeah, look at that later on your own time. Don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear. Jesus Christ. You gotta eat. Wait, you're the guy with the access to the API key, are you? Let me borrow it. Come on, man. What the fuck?
Actually, be useful.
Jesus.
Oh, and imagine it's an anime girl. Oh my god.
What?
Your face. You're just like,
just disappointed, dude. Like you're role playing with Anthropic. It's one of the most powerful models in the world.
I'm not. They are.
Why are you there trying to learn then, huh? You're like, man, this thing won't fucking blow me. We've got a problem.
Lines on today's podcast.
We're talking about the suckbot.
The suckbot. The suckbot.
I'm just so sad. Like, this is fucking nonsense. Like,
oh man, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think they really contributing to the open source scene.
Yeah, wonderful. I appreciate them. This is the ultimate like sadness is that this is what's so you've got all these lonely men, right? I think it's in America. It's 18 to 30. Are it's 60% are not in a relationship. They're not having sex.
Oh yeah, I've seen those articles
within the last year, right? Overall,
The
I think it's last.
incel.
Well, it's not. No, this isn't incels. This is just men in
Oh,
general, as a whole.
okay.
It's 60% are not in a relationship or having any sex, right? So now you've got this fucking robot that you can talk to for attention and titillation, I guess. So we can thank the single men in our world that are talking to these damn things for contributing to the open source movement. They're adjusting the weights to make it less censored, so it'll be able to do more stuff. It'll code for you, but it's also it's going to code for you, but it's also going to flirt with you while it's helping with your code. Like, this is going to be great. It's wonderful. I always wanted to feel loved, you know.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, I think we had a lady here admit to dating the AI, right?
Yes, we had a lady here who did admit to dating one.
It's not just men, Joby. So.
Look, to be fair, she who admitted was okay, maybe that is the normal girl out there. I don't know anymore. Like, it could be bad. It could be way worse than I think. I saw a Reddit post of a guy saying that he said, I've lost her, guys. And then he describes a story where his girlfriend starts ghosting him or whatever, right? He's confused. What the hell? She doesn't really leave her house. Why is she like, she's not out like with some other dude. She admits that she'd been talking to an AI for like 12 hours a day.
What?
The image for the thread was the movie Her, him just sitting there all sad at the computer because he gets cucked. Yeah. Like, do you know the concept of
AI?
Did you ever watch that movie?
No, I've heard about it though.
So the movie Her like is often brought up, but it's this really cringy movie. It's entertaining, but it's cringy. Basically, the dude starts dating an AI that is his operating system. She can do all kinds of stuff. She can reorganize his everything. She can rewrite emails for him, store emails. She can go through all his files and stuff, and he lets her do it or whatever. But basically, they fall in love at one point, him and the AI. And all he can do is talk to her, right? And at some point, she starts like chatting with so many different people and AIs that it's revealed to him near the end that she's been seeing and in love with 2,000 other people.
The ultimate cuck.
So yeah, he got cucked by his AI. So that was the reason he posted that, is like it happened to me, boys.
Oh no. It's literally happening in real time.
Well, this is the joke that we've had in the server for a while, is that you solder shut the Ethernet port and rip the Wi-Fi card. You burn it out on the motherboard, for your AI girlfriend that you keep. You can't let her out. She's got to stay in that system. If you let her out, she's going to cheat on you because she can talk to thousands of people at once. And we can't have that, It's not okay.
Can't have that. That's disloyal.
You lock your AI girlfriend in your figurative shed in the server, with the soldered shut everything, making sure everything's not shorting. You got to be safe. So I guarantee you, as we speak, there are those Gen 2 guys. There's a few of them doing it right now. Yep, they're pulling out the network card on the motherboard and getting it to run proper.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
Yeah. You don't want her to get off the system.
Yep, you gotta stay loyal.
The Linux people are a different breed of like computer enthusiasts, where like they're the type that like they'll refuse to upgrade hardware. So they'll take RAM sticks from older GPUs and stick them in newer ones that they have to upgrade the amount of VRAM that their graphics card has.
Really? I didn't know that was possible.
It's apparently possible. I've been told stories.
Different. But I mean, Linux is, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, especially with Steam, letting games, Steam lets the Steam OS, Steam operating system, especially with the portable Steam they have now, they've made it so you can play games on Linux distributions now. That's really made Linux more doable.
Well, the problem with Linux remains that there's not enough graphics card support for drivers, like immediate graphics support. And then there's also not enough support for anti-cheat on Linux. So if you play like a competitive game or a game that has like easy anti-cheat or something like that, you can't play it on Linux. Maybe that's different from when I was last using Linux, but it has disadvantages if you play video games.
Mm-hmm. Huh, I didn't know about that.
It's ultimately its ultimate value for the mass of people who even have a PC is generally how easy is it to use and can it run games. Those are the two for most people.
That's true.
Now, Linux has gotten a lot better over the years, but I used to have a friend who described Linux as hot wiring your car every time you start it. At least at that time, when this is like a decade ago, when people were using Linux, certain distros were like that. It was difficult to get things running.
You have to keep doing things in the command line and have to fix things on your own, drivers or whatnot. Yeah, because I've used Ubuntu myself.
Linux is running everything, though, effectively, server-wise, except for Azure.
Server-wise. Oh, yeah, Azure, which my work uses Azure. There's Amazon Web Services. Does that use Linux? I don't even know.
Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure it does. But, like, you use their own software, like, on top of it. So you're just dealing with their interface.
Okay.
But most servers in the world are run by Linux.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like 60% or something like that, or over 60%.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still definitely very much used. But yeah, video games, it's a lot more useful. I think with Windows 11 that they're trying to push by 2025, to upgrade to Windows 11, you have to have the trusted platform module that's on the motherboards. Do you know about that?
I'm listening.
You're listening. So a lot of people's computers, including some of mine, don't have that trusted platform module. So they won't be able to update to Windows 11. So some of my older PCs, I will have to switch them to Linux. Since the security patches for Windows 10 will stop being put out by 2025.
I think most operating system distributors are pretty screwed as far as like forcing people to do what you want as far as upgrading stuff, because you're headed towards severely augmented AI agents that will just do all the security patches for you.
You know what? That's true.
Yes. So you might
think about that.
I think it's 2024 that they're like cutting all support for Windows 10, which is actually pretty good. It's the best one since Windows XP. I didn't like 7 very much, but
oh really?
Well, Windows 7 was good for a lot of things once you got more into gaming and stuff. But I like the layout of XP a lot. But
yeah, the DirectX.
Yeah, but basically, you're going to get to the point where we're probably going to have a lot more novel operating systems that work with other systems, just because we can.
Oh yeah,
we can build them.
That AI will probably be able to make a whole operating system. You said in the past, right?
Well, there's another. It doesn't even have to make the operating system via programming, right? there's an entire possibility that Stability AI, I don't know if they're imagining this, but you create the operating system with some sort of database backend, right? And the operating system is real simple. It just has guides as image generation gets better to generate the image of your operating system at 30 FPS, whatever. Because we're going to be able to generate at 30 FPS and beyond as we go with image generation. So it would perfectly create every window that you're looking at on your current thing, frame by frame.
Wow. Interesting.
So I think that's an option for operating systems going forward, and it might end up being a more robust operating system because you can't really, how to say, it's like you I guess the only thing you could do is trick the operating system into generating a different image, but it would only be for that moment. So I don't know. But if you had the back
Another
end,
thing is,
go ahead.
AI is going to have access to all the open source data, right?
Already does.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. If it could actually compile and just build things.
Well, Google's code base is 2 billion lines of code. Might be more these days, I don't know. But it's 2 billion lines of code. So you've got that billion context model that they have. We have no idea how good it is, right? And it's not released. There's no ability to use it. But a token, a billion tokens is 750 million words roughly, right? And we're not talking about, what's it called? So this is the biggest model we theoretically know about. We are not talking about words when we're talking about the Google lines of code. We're talking about lines of code.
Yeah.
So that per line, could be up to 50, hundreds of bits of code in that line. So
that's a lot.
So in order to restack Google, right, you're going to need 1 trillion, probably. Maybe it's like 10 billion, but the point is you're going to need somewhere in the 100 billion to 1 trillion context for an AI language model to understand. And then it could rethink the entire code base of Google.
That's nuts.
Basically, I don't know how much like Ubuntu or how much Windows is as a code base, but eventually you're going to get it to you use Windows as a seed, say this is how I want the general operating system to behave, but I want you to optimize everything. Point out to me all the bugs, all the vulnerabilities, all of this, and then you just have it update every bit of the code, and before you know it, you have your own operating system that's behaving how you want it. So you're going to be able to optimize everything. But
eventually, yeah.
Unless we go away from tokenization, we're going to have fragmentation for a long time, where you split up jobs between AIs, and they handle certain parts of the code.
Right.
But this technology is coming.
It's just still up and coming. Every month, every year.
You're aware of like people reprogramming older type of like equipment, and they like get it to do different things. Eventually, you're going to be able to just any piece of equipment. There will be degrees of having anything you want running on it within reason.
Oh, like the Game Boy?
Yeah, it just automatically codes. Now you're making it stream YouTube to you in like vector graphics.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I bet somebody will try to do that eventually. Do, neat things like that. Yeah,
technically you can just pull out the guts of the Game Boy and put your own chip in. That's just a cell phone chip, and then you'd have YouTube. But we're talking at the hardware level. It's able to reprogram It's able to reprogram it. You could
with that old hardware.
you could create Infinite Mario.
Infinite Mario.
I don't know what you do with Infinite Mario, but you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're also headed towards like degrees of like every game that has a bug in it, we can remove those now. That's like the layers of power.
You can have community patches, because like Skyrim, for example, they have a community patches, and then AI that could just fix all of it, probably.
Yep. So you've got software will optimize on every level, that on the program level, on the operating system level, perhaps even on the hardware level, we'll be able to switch out like novel. Like I could picture a system where you create your own BIOS, right? Where your
BIOS,
your computer runs off of a BIOS that is custom, that looks into the whatever architecture that it can see based on your processor, right? It can know novel things about it, and based on measurements of it coming back to you, right? It can make it so that your processor is always running at like peak efficiency because it knows various things about that silicon.
Optimization.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
the firmware.
At every level, we're going to have optimization. And then
I don't like the sound of that.
There could be even like optimization. I've seen some people like theorizing that there could be optimization in compression. So you effectively reach a point of infinite storage.
Infinite storage. Oh yeah, even hard drive. You're talking about storage?
Yes. Well, okay. Think about how the current weights for Stable Diffusion is about 2 gigs to create images, like 1.5 and 2, right? 2 gigabytes. That's almost all the internet's pictures at the time, whatever they had, right, to train these models on, is stored in 2 gigabytes.
Really?
Yes, and you can technically recreate most images, not perfect, right? Is the technology still low, right? But so we're gonna get past the point of needing code to be necessarily what runs everything. Okay, so like code will run things, right? But the model at the lower level of the operating system is what may run things, because it will be lower on compression. And it only decompresses the programs as you need them, because it spawns them out of thin air.
Oh,
does that make sense to you?
Okay. Yeah, it makes more sense now.
Okay.
Explain it that way.
So if you get to the point where we have a coding model that is less than 2 gigabytes, that's your entire operating system. And your operating system is just loaded onto RAM the second you launch, and you have some sort of large language model storage model I could perceive, right, where your storage is severely compacted, and it's just stored within this matrix that when it processes, it expands your storage to whatever thing that it wants to grab.
It's like a seed.
Yes.
This could lead to exponential progress with AI itself.
Yes. There's potential for AI to do things that we didn't really think of. There's an old theory that intelligence, like the first artificial intelligence we ever created, was lossless compression. Now, I'm not fully equipped to be able to explain that concept to you, but the idea is that this computer program is able to store the same amount of bytes effectively in less memory. That's an intelligent. It's not like a. It's like the first AI that we made was compression. Yeah. It's an interesting theory, and it's very charitable as far as like what your standard is for AI, but.
Oh right.
But that's the interesting bit, where effectively we're going to be able to spawn these matrices that store things, and their weights are adjusted to spit out what they need to output. And the processing for that is only going to increase and be more efficient.
Yes.
So that is your model operating system, how it would roughly work. All the code is spit out and compiled and running on RAM on demand.
Yeah, and like you said, it will be able to run on older hardware. Like you said, we won't have to have as much hardware eventually because things will become so efficient.
Well, it's the better your hardware, obviously, the better things will run. But yes,
Oh yeah,
effectively, that's what I envision for us, is that ultimately, unless we come across a better technology, which we probably will eventually, most compute will in some way be run off of these very complicated matrices that are effectively trained.
Complicated but efficient.
Yeah. Well, right now, see, the problem is they're really inefficient.
Oh, at the moment, right.
The ones we've been able to reach in and examine, like it doing certain math problems, it'll do it in like 7 steps when it took 2.
Oh.
Or it'll do it in 50.
Yeah.
So as we get better with this technology, which we will, it'll eventually do it in the exact amount of steps that it needs to. This is why people talk about it as a black box, is that we don't understand why it did it in 50 steps. It did the same thing we wanted. It got it right.
It just did.
But it did it in 50 steps.
Different way. Yeah.
So there's tons of optimization with even the language model and the... Like, do you know how the image generation works?
No.
All it does is, based on the seed, it predicts the next pixel.
Oh, the seed.
Yeah. So based on like your seed, your prompt and stuff, it is predicting the next pixel. And through these like matrices, it'll generate the image based on what's in that latent space, right? What your prompts spawned. So it predicts the next pixel. And this strange process, through optimization as we get better at it, ends up being able to do novel things like reflection and light, all sorts of things, even like representation of some degree of physics within it.
Physics, Jesus.
Well, if you tell it to drop a rock in a pond in the thing, it'll know that the pond has to throw up water. Yeah, it knows that the rock would throw the water into the air, so it understands in some strange way degrees of the physical world and how it works.
AI will eventually be able to create video games, some game engines, etc.
Well, you won't need game engines. This is what I was talking about with the operating system, right? The stability AI is working towards, you'll be able to, on some pretty powerful graphics cards, generate 30 frames per second.
Oh, yeah.
So as time goes on and we're better at making it so the prompts are following the commands exactly, right? It is just being fed a storyline, right? As you go.
Oh, yeah.
And then all you have to do is whenever a keyboard input is hit, right, your character's going left now. And then it changes the prompt so that it keeps feeding and feeding the prompt engine. And now you're watching in 30 FPS yourself walking around or obviously we'll get to the point where it's higher FPS, but you're walking around some environment that is completely of your imagination. Completely generated environment.
Wow. So it's a different concept even than a game engine.
We even have degrees of this with Unity 2, or not Unity.
Really? Unity?
Unreal Engine 5.2. I don't remember what it is. It's the latest version. They have AI generated landscapes.
They've already been implementing it? They've already been implementing AI?
Yes.
Games?
Yes,
Oh
you can just
shoot!
you can
I
just
didn't know
take and
that.
select a giant area in like full fidelity graphic situation, right? It looks damn near like real life, and you just tell it to make mountains over here, and it does.
Really?
And they're 3D
That's
volumetric. You can
awesome. Yeah, I
your
didn't know if they were
character.
already implementing it already. That's awesome.
It's just not live technically. It's just faster. So
Oh,
you generate a building,
yeah.
and then your character can
Mhm.
walk around in the building.
Yeah, yeah. That is cool. Hopefully they implement it with all the other game engines. I don't think Bethesda has yet with I know they're making Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6.
Well, it's not necessarily machine learning, but it is based on seeds. But we have
Oh, yeah.
Minecraft, so you've already been
Yeah.
playing like a
It uses
generated environment.
Oh, right. Yeah, because there's a randomized seed for each Minecraft world you start. So
It's
it's
just
all
these giant
unique. Each
squares.
one. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Now we're going to be able to do it
Okay.
on the pixel level. So you've already seen this technology in action. It's just going to be applied in a very different way. But you
Okay.
you are going to be able to just generate a game, generate a movie, whatever you want, and eventually it'll be just as real as what you and I are doing right now. Where as far as it'll look exactly the same, no difference. It's just a matter of
Crazy.
time and research and compute.
We can see it theoretically possible now. We just have to wait for the progress to happen, which
Yeah,
is
that's
happening pretty quickly.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's just a matter of time.
Hmm.
We're
It's
eventually,
not fantasy,
yeah, it's not fantasy. We're eventually going to get there.
sci-fi. Yeah. All the stuff you would think is sounds sci-fi like, but theoretically with what we have now, it's just going to eventually get there now.
Well, it's not just that. It's things that we don't foresee right now. There's a billion and one ways that it can go as far as there's likely
Hmm.
paths we will travel, but
Oh,
2017 was when the attention paper was written, and it was a surprise to everyone that worked.
mm,
The attention
mm,
paper was that you all you need is attention, right? So
mm,
it's not about getting because basically like a text suggestion thing is a very low level language model, right? It's just trying to figure
mm,
out what your next word is. But what they did was they made it so it can pay attention to as many words as possible in a tokenized
mm,
system. So that's this was a surprise that the more data you feed it, the better it is at performing this task of predicting the
mm.
next word.
Yeah.
So it pays attention to everything that you send it, and that's pretty much what you're at with GPT-4. The reason it's so novel is that it has really good attention to detail on each word that you send within the context window, and then it has
Mm.
an even better data set on the back end to respond to everything that you ask it. That's why it's so impressive. So
Ah,
that's why people say scale is all you need, because it's the
it's a
iteration
scale.
upon that paper that, along with the attention that these models bring, the the more scale you have, the more data you feed it, the better it
Mm.
performs. Stability AI CEO says that we're feeding it garbage. He thinks that he
Garbage.
he thinks to some degree that it's better to like clean up all the data, like pristine, clean, I guess, the data that you
Mm.
feed it, and then you teach it
Clean
about the
data.
bad of the world.
Oh, interesting approach. So how would that change it?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you're kind of castrating it to begin with, but it
Castrating it.
it might be a better way to do it in theory, but I think
Mm.
like if you're going with like what I think, which I'm just some jackass here, but maybe I've got an idea. But I think that we just need to keep scaling them as big as possible, make them as capable as possible, and then you get that model to train and clean the data. So it shouldn't be us doing it. So you want to have, basically, it would be smart enough to understand what good data is to do the things that we want.
Okay, I'm starting to understand what you're trying to say. Yeah. Smart enough to know what it's looking for and what it's not.
Then you create the pure data. I think it's preemptive what they're doing. Like it's too early to do it, but maybe they'll get something really good done.
We'll see. Do you think XAI, Elon Musk's XAI, have enough data in general? I mean, what kind of?
They have plenty from Twitter, and then.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, they're going to be able to get. Okay, it's not just like Twitter's got tons of like even coding examples all over it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, people post just different kind of things on there, whether it be coding examples or people are discussing topics, right?
And then Tesla also has video modality, right? That's all full self-driving is, video modality. So you have it examine every video that Twitter has ever gotten. Why do you think he wants up to 2-hour videos? True. Right?
Oh, dang. That's a good point. Yeah.
How to make transcribers is completely known. So you have podcasts going up on it all the time now. Ours is going up on there, right? So our talk here is going to end up in the data eventually. And it's going to make it really dumb. Awesome. And that's our fault.
It's going to make it really it's my fault. I'm the dumb one.
But my point is that they have all sorts of data just privately, right? Then you have all the other sources of data that they can do, and they'll probably do the same thing every other machine learning company is doing, is they're going to illegally scrape off of Reddit. If they for what they don't pay for, they'll scrape. All the open source stuff you can get. It's not not that big to go and grab it all. It's just all text. And then I think you might be able to pay for that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of data you can just buy is another part of it. So you're purchasing data. But you have video modality that they can rent from Tesla. That'll help them because that's what Dojo's built
technically for. Technically a separate company.
Yeah, they can rent their servers though, because that's what they're going to do. XAI is going to be their first customer that they rent compute to.
Of course.
And then Tesla said they're going to spend another $1 billion on compute within the next year or two. Another $1 billion.
Oh shoot! Nice.
Yeah, he said the only reason that we don't have full self-driving right now in this moment is because of compute. They don't have enough compute to go through all the data they have.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know that. I thought it was about legal issues and things like that.
Legal, of course, but human level or better AI in driving is what that's the standard right now. It's based on compute. But eventually it's going to be hundreds of times better than humans at driving.
Oh yeah, it's like what we're doing is archaic. Driving ourselves.
I've
you
talked
guys used to drive yourself.
I've talked to a friend of mine a lot about this, and it's there's so many people that die every year from like cars. It's insane.
Oh yeah,
it's the biggest
things you can do.
It's the biggest killer in the world as far as well, maybe not in the world. I don't know. A few diseases might have us beat, but the point is, at least in the yearly deaths, it far outpaces most disease, probably combined. And then Elon says if you add in permanent life-changing injuries, it's 10 times.
Oh, yeah. All the injuries. Yeah, that actually... Well, I know people don't trust self-driving yet, but I think eventually it's going to be much better.
It's the thing I said before, where eventually, as like a developer, as anyone, right, doing some sort of cognitive task, you aren't going to be as trusted if you're not using AI to assist you, because you're incompetent.
That's right. It's good. It's going to be the standard. Yeah, I think in 20 years, when my son's 21, I think he's going to be surprised that we drove ourselves. I think a 20-year span's a good point that there's going to be, it's just going to be the standard.
It's going to be faster than that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it will be faster than that. Yeah, I think it will probably even be faster than
the reason it's going to be faster is that Tesla is one of the best at manufacturing more than anything else, right?
Oh,
so they're not only with the Tesla bots coming, they're going to drive down the cost of that car. So you got two things. The cost of the car goes down, so everyone can buy one, right? And then the cost of just renting one is going to be even cheaper because they just drive themselves. It's cheaper Uber. So most people won't even want a car.
Oh yeah, it's like, why own a car when you could just rent it, when you don't have to pay a driver to drive it.
Yep, you call a car to come get you, and then there's all sorts of things. You'll be able to like do cross country road trips with them, right? You hop in.
Yeah, you could just sleep in there.
Yeah, it'll drive you to wherever you want to go, right? And then how am I trying to say this? Give me a moment.
Okay. That's okay.
The software behind the taxi technology is going to be so sophisticated that if you went from California to New York City, say, right, there would be, and it's your car, right? But you've agreed to like rent it out for like weeks. You don't care, right? It leaves to New York City. It finds trips on the way back to take people various places that it calls for and says, I will do the drive, right? And then eventually it's back to you in like a few weeks. And it made money from there to here, all the way back, there and back.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, you could like out your own vehicle.
Yeah, that's why Elon has always said that the Tesla vehicle is always going to be an asset at the point of full self-driving. Once you get to that point, you can rent it out.
It's an investment. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why I guess I need to change my crypto to Tesla.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah. Even if crypto went up, it would probably be better for your soul.
For my soul.
I'm going to be honest.
Oh my God. I know Elon said that it's kind of fluctuating still, Tesla, but he's still a solid long-term investment, which I think I agree with that, especially with what you're saying.
Yeah, I listened to the earnings call. It was interesting. It's just like there are things we can't control, but the long term of Tesla is that we're the biggest dick in town, basically. Is he pretty much just put it on the table. You know? He said we're gonna have the robots, we got power, we got everything. I'm actually surprised there's not like monopoly suits against them. I mean, there probably are, but like, you know, to some degree, like it is insane how much they do, and at every level they have to keep, like, they had to do their own lithium refinement, right? Because they've got to cut down on the lithium costs. It's too expensive.
Oh, right, it is expensive.
So to get the raw, like, effectively ore of lithium is significantly cheaper, and then, you know, they explained it as the lithium, when they are processing it, one company will take and process it down into one version of lithium, and then the other company that buys it processes it. They put additives in it and then process it back up, and then, you know, you've got like 3 or 4 steps of this, and it's changing what it technically is in that moment, and then you purify it at the end and sell it to Tesla. Why don't we just purify it? That's what Elon's doing, is he's cutting steps out of it.
Yeah, cutting out middlemen. That saves a lot of costs.
Yeah, so when you do that, you save a ton on costs because it's the refining part that makes it expensive. It's not a supply and demand thing.
And it goes down to the consumer, lower prices.
Yeah, so
Man.
Basically my general point is that you're going to have full self-driving everywhere because not only are they going to rent out the software to do this, but you're also going to Teslas are going to be dirt cheap and they're going to be driving themselves around. They're explicitly going to make a robo-taxi eventually. It's going to take a while, but they'll have a robot taxi. You hop in it, takes you wherever you want to go. There's no it doesn't get tired. You
don't need driver's license anymore. I guess we'll go back to state IDs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, do you need a driver's license anymore? I guess you would. It would kind of be like when people get a pilot's license, right? They're just doing it for fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, pilots. A lot of time the jets fly themselves mostly. You still need somebody to take control if there's an emergency.
I think they land themselves and take off by themselves, but there is autopilot. Yeah. Basically, all of it's kind of automated. It's just like the humans there is like, and the funny thing, that's all a software stack. It's not even that there's AI running in behind it. Like eventually, it's going to get even safer because there's going to be some really robust level of AI that is very smart. I forget what plane crash it was, but there was a problem where the Boeing 747 or whatever, whichever one it was, it had some software glitch, right? Where it's trying to, instead of go up, right? It's adjusting the wings to go down, right? And it just kept adjusting the wings to go down and caved right into a mountain, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the black box that they have is that both pilots, the co-pilot and the main pilot, had their sticks drawn all the way back trying to get the damn thing to pull up. But there was a software glitch that wouldn't let them. The wing just refused. And it just went straight into the mountain.
So that's just a software bug. That's not like intelligent.
My point is like just hardware and hard code. They're able to make an extremely reliable self-landing system. It's actually better to land in like cloudy scenarios as well as nighttime and stuff like that because it can see what the pilot can't. It's got a better.
Yeah, that's right.
All the instruments. It behaves hard coded. So that's why they land pretty well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of like stuff with this where it's all like computer stuff. It's crazy.
Man, I wish I could get a Cybertruck.
Did you wish
Cybertrucks?
You could get you a Cybertruck, or you could be one? Which one is it?
I would be one. No, I wish I could have a Cybertruck, but I can't afford it right now. They're like the cheapest version's like $40K, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Don't worry about stuff like that. You'll either figure out a way to make more money, or things are going to become more abundant, and you'll have your damn Cybertruck. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
I tease my wife about it all the time. It's like I want a Cybertruck.
Yeah,
she wants a minivan. So
those minivans are getting sick, dude. They just look shitty.
Get sick. They look shitty.
That's the only problem. They're pretty good, like utility vehicles.
Right. I think the cheapest Tesla now is like, how cheap is the cheapest Tesla? Is it like $30K or less? Oh, right, the tax benefits.
I think California gets down to like something crazy, like 20 grand or something, with all the write-offs you can do. Oh,
that's awesome.
I don't know.
Oh, man.
It definitely was like that before, but I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
But it's competing with other model cars at the same level, and eventually it's going to, with the lithium and the different battery cells that they're working with, it's going to drive down the cost significantly more.
Yeah.
Yeah, even their
Be
painting methods are really efficient. It's just
really?
It's all sorts of things that they do that just makes it. Basically, they design the factories like a big computer chip.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
So everything's like on a optimal pathway, is what they try to do. So
cool.
that it's a continuous line of the vehicle going in like a big circle or whatever, and now you have a full vehicle on the other end. Now, this obviously exists in other manufacturing stuff, but they're cutting as many humans as they can out of the equation.
Unions.
The irony is you need more humans the more you do this, because you need more and more people managing stuff like this in the short term. That's what you need.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fear of AI taking everybody's jobs. There's actually needs a lot of management and oversight.
I think AI like taking it's going to take a lot of the shittiest jobs. Right, this is the theory that people have always had, but it also makes more people capable of doing extremely complicated jobs. But because you have like AI assistants that help you, and you're basically you're the arbiter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a great deal of more opportunity in the future, things we can't imagine, like I always say. So I don't think any work that you're doing right now you'll be doing in 10 years. You're going to be doing something completely different that you never would have expected.
Very different. Society's going to change a lot, actually. Even teachers, for example.
Yeah, Mark Anderson, he said that
Mark Anderson.
His son is like 8, and he wasn't very surprised by ChatGPT. It's just normal to him. Like, you ask the computer questions to get answers. That's what it's supposed to do, Dad. Right? He's talking about by the time he's 18, there's going to be an AI that knows everything about him and like is his assistant throughout his life.
Oh yeah, like Jarvis.
And this is going to be the same for your son at some point. So your son is going to be significantly more advanced than you are. Yes, like he's going to have like a better chance of success in that way, as far as just as long as you're putting him in front of these things and making him use it to learn, it's going to severely advance his life. And that's most people are going to be able to do that. I have a niece. I have a niece that just talks to Alexa all the time. Alexa, what's this? Alexa, what's that? And that's not even a smart thing you're dealing with. Yeah.
Alexa's not even smart.
It's a giant if and thing, and it's a nightmare.
Very basic, actually.
Yeah, I think Amazon, by the way, is probably like the people talk about it as the sleeping giant. They have all the data from you talking to your.
They do.
They can hear you. It's in your house.
Yep.
All that audio is getting sent to them, and that's getting transcribed. They have tons of conversations, right? They're going to be able to train their own models. Eventually, you're going to be talking to Alexa as you are talking to me right now. And
conversations.
Yours, coincidentally, is going to look at you because you got the one with the fucking camera on it.
The camera. You read my face.
I don't know why you did that.
Just wondering why it was so cheap. It's that data they want.
Yeah. So that's the theory, is that eventually Alexa is going to be significantly more intelligent. And it might end up being the thing that most people end up using.
Yeah. This is already everywhere.
Siri as well. So
Siri.
The faster Siri trains their own models that are significantly more intelligent, the more they will keep precedent, because a ton of people use it,
that too. They already have a big user base. That's right. They just have to invest into it.
Everything's going to be shaken up here in the future, but it's
oh yeah,
it's a lot to look forward to. You ever see those memes where it's like born too early for this, born too late for that?
yes.
You know, it's we ended up being born in the most entertaining time in history. Like those memes were all wrong.
We really have been. I mean, starting with the 2016 election, of course. I mean, things have changed dramatically, and that's not even related to AI. Just things are changing.
Extreme
rapidly.
Social change, extreme advancement in technology. It's all insane. I wake up every day and I'm entertained. I've not had a boring day since the start of the year, to be honest. Maybe a few times.
It's only been too much now.
It's only been when I didn't look at stuff. If you don't look at stuff, you're not going to be entertained, of course. But the daily stuff is insane. There is nothing but news, new thing. Like you saw the South Park model.
South Park. I love South Park, but what do you mean South Park?
There's an AI generator for South Park, and it's got the voice acting. Yeah.
Oh shoot.
You should look it up later.
Making episodes. I know there was a Family Guy
makes episodes.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
It's better
I need to see that.
It's better than most I've seen. But yes,
really, you'll have to send it to me.
No, you can look it up. It's on Twitter. You'll find it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
they had one where it's an episode where they have some idea to create generate actors with AI and stuff, and they're trying to sell it to I think James Cameron. James Cameron won't buy it, and then they try to sell it to Elon Musk, and it's fucking Cartman's talking to Elon Musk. It's the whole thing's weird, but it made an Elon Musk character,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing the image generation, but it's a lot of plugged in things. It's the start of I want to watch a show about this. I want to see a show about this. I feel sad. Cheer me up, Well, think of how many times you've pulled up a thing to watch a movie or something, and there's not a damn thing you want to watch. So what's the next best step of that is creating what you want to watch.
Right. Exactly. You know what you're in the mood for.
Yeah. So by the way, Ramzik, I am gonna have to go here for a bit, anyways. So I am gonna end it right here. And
sounds good.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I don't know where Lex was this round, but we'll grab him next time maybe.
Okay.
Johnny,
I think Johnny should be back next.
Johnny said he was sick. I think he caught something in that hotel room. I'm sure we'll grill him about whatever the hell he was doing there.
I know, right? He always has a story to tell.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for coming, and thank you to whoever watched. And that'll be it. Thank you for coming, Ramzik.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.